As a citizen, I just ask, where's my money?
Just stop fucking around, all right? Remember that we know where your home is. We have everything about you.
Three Conservative members of British Parliament have joined their former opponents in a new breakaway group, leaving Prime Minister Theresa May's party over her government's, quote, disastrous handling of Brexit. The Tory defectors join 8 former members of the Labour Party who've quit over the past few days. All 11 have common ground. They voted to remain in the EU, and they want the country to hold another vote on Brexit. A Supreme Court decision today puts limits on state and local police seizing private property they suspect is linked to a crime, a practice known as civil asset forfeiture. The justices unanimously sided with a man whose $42,000 Land Rover was seized in Indiana, where he pled guilty to selling $225 worth of heroin, a drug felony with a maximum fine of $10,000. While the federal government is already prohibited from issuing excessive fines, that same limit didn't apply to states until today. Several jurors in the trial of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman, which ended last week with a guilty verdict, allegedly violated the judge's orders to avoid media reports about the case. Speaking with Vice News, one anonymous juror said they followed the trial on social media and that at least 5 other members of the jury did the same. Guzman's defense team could use the claim to seek a new trial. His lawyer said he was, quote, deeply concerned about the claims. Resale tickets for tonight's matchup between rivals Duke and UNC are going for an average price of $3,296, 75% higher than last year's game. Fans are shelling out the extra cash for the chance to see Duke's star forward Zion Williamson, a freshman favored to be the #1 NBA draft pick.
Students in Haiti's capital marched today to mourn a classmate allegedly shot dead by police this month. Their anger is symptomatic of wider fury with authorities in a country where jobs are scarce, inflation is high, and successive governments have been accused of skimming money from the people. Protests against President Jovenel Moïse started last year after a Senate report accused officials and private companies of embezzling nearly $2 billion from the sale of oil. The oil came from Venezuela's Petrocaribe scheme, which sells to Caribbean countries at a low cost up front and gives them decades to pay the rest. After the 2010 quake, the loan became a critical way to fund urgent and essential reconstruction projects. You are responsible for tackling corruption in Haiti.
Yes. They have some projects in the cities and they don't have the project. Companies receive the money, but they don't have the project. I discovered in the report that all the government spend badly all the money.
Yuri Latortue chairs the Senate committee that produced the report. It covered 2008 to 2016, when President Moïse's 2 predecessors were in office. The $2 billion in funds were meant to be spent on projects including housing and government ministries. But it also said Moïse, himself the owner of 2 firms, received Petrocaribe funds for the reconstruction of a road that never materialized. We're talking about tens of millions of dollars. Where is it?
In individual pockets, in the firms, in some administrators, some accounting.
President Moïse himself.
President Moïse, because he was not in the state, but he had a firm.
All officials involved have rejected the accusations in the local press. This bridge to nowhere has become the most glaring symbol of the scandal.
So that's the bridge?
Yes, that's the bridge.
The sort of bridge?
Sort of, yeah, big H. It's literally telling us they don't care about the people. They literally don't care. You had these socio-economical projects. You had the Petrocaribe funds to better our conditions, and it's right in our face.
In August, Gilbert Mirambeau Jr., posted a photo on Twitter that showed him blindfolded with a sign in Creole that asked, "Where is the Petro-Caribe money?" It quickly went viral.
As a citizen, as a humble citizen, I just asked, where's my money actually? Not you, where's my money? Because I'm paying you to do it. It was a simple question.
That question is uniting people across classes in this stratified society. And that has the government worried. Neither president or prime minister had taken questions since the beginning of the crisis until now.
The people feel robbed. How will you give them justice?
C'est ça. Bon, il y a les jeunes, il y a toute la population haïtienne qui désire avoir des informations sur ce qui s'est passé avec l'argent de Petro-Caribe qui a été investi. Et depuis mon arrivée, je ne fais que poser les jalons pour arriver au procès. Parce que justement, on parle de l'argent qui a été volé, mais il faudra qu'on le prouve. Et on le prouvera à travers un procès équitable. Donc,
The president is implicated in this report as being involved in the Petro-Caribe scandal. It looks like he's hiding behind you, and the protesters demand his removal.
non, je ne peux pas non plus moi-même servir de bouclier au président. Si le président est impliqué, il sera jugé comme tout le monde. Mais moi, je n'ai pas la conviction que le président est impliqué, étant donné que nous avons un rapport. Et ce rapport sera étudié, analysé par la justice.
Put yourself in the shoes of a member of the public who spends their day looking at a bridge that hasn't been finished, and it hasn't been finished purely and simply because of corruption. Can you understand the frustration in that person when they, at the same time, are struggling to eat?
Je suis seulement dans le gouvernement depuis 5 mois. J'étais dans l'opposition, c'est justement ce qui caractérisait ma revendication dans l'opposition. Je suis là pour retrouver cet argent. Je suis là pour donner de la nourriture au peuple haïtien.
Demonstrators want heads to roll for this scandal. The Prime Minister has decided to be the first to break the silence, claiming he is the one who can fix this mess.
Tell me this, and be honest with me. Is this a very difficult moment for you? Because the leader of the opposition wants you to take the president's place. They want the president gone, the protesters want the president gone, and the heir to the presidency is you. Be honest with me.
Il y a beaucoup de gens, je suis honnête, je suis toujours honnête et je dis toujours la vérité. Là, je suis un Premier ministre chargé d'aider le président à atterrir sa vision. Et je suis là pour cela, et je ne suis là que pour cela, pour travailler avec le président.
Is the president scared?
I don't know.
You do know. You must know. You must, because there's a reason why he's not talking and why he sends you out to talk.
I don't know.
There's a reason why he's not talking and he sends you out to talk.
But I'm not.
You're not. No, you're not, because you're not implicated.
Yeah.
But is the president scared?
I don't know, because I'm not driving the president. I'm not in his body. I don't know. But I know one thing. The president has to work with me to find the Petro-Caribe money.
Protesters have put pressure on the government to come up with that money. But as ministers fight for political survival, citizens are still fighting for their basic needs.
For the third day this week, North Carolina election officials heard evidence of an almost comically sinister plot that could have big consequences. Here's what went down. In last fall's midterms, Republican Mark Harris faced stiff competition from Democrat Dan McCready. After the ballots were counted, Harris led by just 905 votes. But election officials spotted abnormalities in absentee ballots. They refused to certify the results and launched an investigation. The 9th District has now gone almost 2 months without congressional representation.
We're learning more about the man at the center of the District 9 election fraud investigation and how he operates.
Since Election Day, the press has slowly sketched the outlines of a lurid scheme by Harris's political consultant, McCrae Dowless, to collect, falsify, and submit absentee ballots. Now, it's still unclear if Harris was aware of the scheme and whether it changed the election's outcome. Through his attorney, Dowless has denied any wrongdoing. But this week's hearing has helped fill in what investigators believe happened.
The evidence that we will provide today will show that a coordinated, unlawful, and substantially resourced absentee ballot scheme operated during the 2018 general election in Layton and Robinson counties.
A witness named Lisa Britt explained how it worked. She testified Dallas, who is her former stepdad, paid her to check in on voters who had absentee ballots that hadn't been submitted. Britt offered to file those ballots, then she went to work.
So if it was unsealed and the ballot was not completely voted, you could fill in the other offices on that. And who would have directed you to do that?
We were directed by Mr. Dallas. Basically, what I would do would be just about vote whoever was the Republican.
Here's why what seems like a local story is so important. Some conservatives have been claiming for years that election integrity is being compromised, not by corrupt consultants, but by undocumented immigrants and other illegal voters. The White House even formed a very official-sounding commission to investigate fraud back in 2017. It disbanded without reporting what, if anything, they found. But it offered another platform for the commission's vice chairman, Chris Kobach, the former Republican Secretary of State of Kansas. Kobach has built a career out of claiming that there's widespread voter fraud and that large numbers of non-citizens are registered to vote.
We do know that there's a very large number, and it'll be impossible to ever know what the exact number is of non-citizens.
But it's not millions, right?
I think it probably was.
You do?
I think it's probably in excess of 1 million. If you take the whole country, I think it's in excess of 1 million if you take the entire country, for sure.
What happened in North Carolina doesn't appear to be voter fraud. If it's all true, it's election fraud and possibly voter suppression. The deputy director of the Brennan Center's democracy program explained the difference.
We need to be absolutely clear about this, that there has been no allegation that any voters did anything wrong, but rather that there were potential crimes being perpetrated upon voters.
But even if what happened in North Carolina isn't voter fraud, Perez worries that people like Kobach will use it to bolster their claims that our elections are under attack.
One of the concerns when you hear claims like this is that this gets put through a spin cycle in the media and exploited by self-serving politicians who hear these kinds of incidences and start using them to support and encourage support for a panoply of laws and restrictions that make it harder for people to vote.
Primero hay los tres componentes, ¿no? El avión, control y el celular, ¿ok? Entonces, uno es así. Esa también es la música del control, lo que queremos escuchar.
Pablo, Camila, and Miguel are learning to use drones to surveil and protect their land. They are the designated monitors of Buen Jardín del Callaru, a tiny isolated village of indigenous Ticuna people that sits on 4,000 acres of the Peruvian Amazon. Protecting that much land has always been impossible, but that's changing with new technology.
Por razón me estaban diciendo que ahí están aserrando estos señores. Lo que está aquí en el celular, lo que nos transmite el PGS satelitalmente está aquí, también en el mapa.
A system developed at the University of Maryland compares satellite images over time and flags any changes in the forest cover. The people on the ground then use the drones to investigate what caused those changes.
Camila, ¿quieres probar? ¿Intentar? ¿Subirla?
An American NGO called the Rainforest Foundation equipped 40 communities in Peru with this technology. The goal is to slow deforestation, which has almost doubled in Peru since 2001. The vast majority is caused by small-scale loggers or farmers, many of whom cut down forest to grow coca for the black market.
It's continuing steadily, deforestation. What we hope is it can be contained and minimized. Most deforestation is not from little communities like Buen Jardín de Callaru. However, they do have a lot of territory of jungle to protect, and it's their interest to protect it. So by supporting them to at least protect what they are legally capable of, does contain the broader trend of deforestation.
So how effective has this been so far?
We worked with several communities in a different province in Peru called where we measured their deforestation rate, basically go from 5% annually to 0.
In September, the people of Buen Jardín got a new alert about a clearing on the edge of their land. They confronted the invader, but he refused to leave. So the villagers filed a formal complaint with the authorities. A prosecutor for environmental affairs gathered a team to visit the clearing with a heavy police escort.
Nos vamos a dirigir hasta aquí, después vamos a llegar a este punto de acá.
¿Aproximadamente cuánto tiempo es ese camino?
Y de vuelta le vamos a echar 1 hora, 45 minutos.
The group was slow and loud.
¿Por dónde? ¿Por acá?
And the prosecutor was unprepared for the hike. Once at the clearing, the destruction was obvious, but there was no one around.
Vamos a levantar el acta con las personas intervinientes, que existe pues un área que se ha realizado un desbosque. ¿Usted acredita en su denuncia un nombre en especial? ¿Usted lo ha visto a él acá en esta zona?
Sí.
¿O quién más aparte de usted lo ha visto a él acá?
Acá le he visto el otro monitor que es.
¿Existe algún campamento donde esta
El
persona
campamento
pernoctan?
está como a 200 metros.
The villager who had personally filed the complaint urged the authorities to press on and question the person responsible. But they refused.
¿Por qué no vamos a avanzar al campamento de los presuntos taladores de esta área acá?
Porque es incierto poder determinar si es que se encuentra en la Amazonía, ya que la Amazonía acá es bastante complicada. Tenemos 2 horas de caminata todavía que nos queda saliendo y es bastante incierto si lo vamos a encontrar en la selva. Todavía estamos en transcurso de investigación. Esto es solamente una de las diligencias de las tantas que vamos a realizar.
Entonces, ¿ahora qué pasa? ¿Ahora qué va a pasar?
La investigación dura como máximo, si es que se declara compleja, 8 meses para poder establecer in situ si es que acá hay un quantum de valor económico afectado.
The prosecutor and his team left, and just a few dozen meters away, we found a field of young coca plants.
Yo sé que no va a pasar nada. La justicia no son para los pobres. La justicia es para los ricos.
The operation left the villagers aware of one thing. While new technology may be a tool to enforce their sovereignty, it will inevitably encounter the old obstacles that have always left indigenous people to fend for themselves.
El fiscal está allá sentado. Los policías están sentados por allá. Y nosotros aquí en este monte.
¿Ustedes temen que el señor que está ahí invadiendo les va a hacer daño a ustedes?
Estamos en el conflicto ya. Y no se sabe. Vamos a ver a qué punto va a llegar. Y ahí no hay quien nos va a proteger. Hay que protegernos.
¿Eso qué quiere decir?
Él nos viene a querer matarnos algo, también nosotros tenemos que darle. Ya que el gobierno nos apoya. Mientras que no haya muerte, no van a ver, no se van a preocupar.
Phone scams are big business.
Hello, this is Jack, and I am calling you from the refunds department.
We are giving you a final courtesy call before we close out your file.
You will be taken under custody by the federal officers.
The FTC says Americans lose billions of dollars falling for them. It's estimated that at least half of all cell phone calls this year will be from scammers. Senior citizens are especially vulnerable.
Call from Miami FM.
Hello?
The reason you have received this phone call from our department is to inform you that there are legal enforcement actions filed against you. So once you get this message, kindly call us back as soon as possible before we begin with the legal proceedings against you.
There you go. There's a scammer call. Still happening.
This is William Webster. And this is Lynda Webster.
Hello.
In 2014, William got a call from a man who told him he had won a grand prize.
Are you getting a brand new 2014
2014 Mercedes.
What was the cash amount?
$72 million. You're the first place winner.
Tell me what I need to do to claim the prize.
The scammer told him that he had to pay a tax up front to claim the money. What the scammer didn't know was that William wasn't your average retiree.
There's a picture of President George W. Bush.
The White House Christmas party here, it looks like?
Yeah, I think that's probably what it was.
He's the only man who has ever served as the director of both the FBI and the CIA. Tell me how you met.
You want to tell?
Well, it was a long time ago.
Would you like to hear my version
I
of the
was
story?
going to say, please.
Fortunately for me, I didn't know who he was. If I'd known he was the FBI director at the time, I would never have talked to him. I remember one of our earlier dates, I invited him over to watch a movie, and then I realized it was a pirated movie. The first thing it says, FBI warning. I'm going, oh no, I'm sitting here showing him a movie.
Tell me about the first phone call.
I think it was called the Mega Millions contest.
Yeah. Lynda's been through enough of this that she's very suspicious of anything offering anybody any money.
So when did you get the FBI involved?
Well, actually, I think the credit for that goes to Lynda because she had the next round of conversations with this fellow who called in, and she was a little rougher with him. She wanted him to stop bothering me, and
That's not exactly the word I used.
Well, what happens if I don't send anything?
Sweetheart, just stop sucking around, all right? Because you're getting me really crazy right now.
Well, you're getting me really crazy because I think you're fucking around with us.
All right, you
don't.
don't.
Trying
Okay.
to scare an old man.
Okay. Remember that we know where your home is. We have your address. We have everything about you. So how is it that we go? Just bark bomb your house, say to your house in blaze. How is that?
The FBI was able to quickly ID the scammer as this man, Keniel Thomas.
He's a Jamaican national who had applied for a visa several years prior for work purposes, and ultimately we were able to use the telephone number he listed on his visa application to tie him to the telephone that was making the threats.
Earlier this month, Thomas was sentenced to nearly 6 years in prison, and the Websters were in the courtroom. How sophisticated are these folks? Because if I got a call from Jamaica, I probably wouldn't pick up.
The sophistication really runs the gamut. I mean, we see them all the way from complex business email compromise to the use of U.S. mail with some non-specific blackmail, like, I know your secrets. If you don't send me $5,000, I'll expose your secrets.
Wouldn't you be the worst possible target that anyone could pick?
well, I would hope so.
Lynda said that she wanted to work for the CIA. Do you think she would be a good spy?
You're not sure?
What's the expression? I could tell you, but then I'd have to shoot you.